Hello and welcome everyone to Lesson 8 in this Chess Beginner to Winner series, in which we take you from absolute chess beginner to winning your first chess tournament games and beyond. So today I will be talking about chess tactics and strategy. And for all you beginners out there who might not even know the difference between chess tactics and chess strategy, if you don't know much about either subject, let's take a look and see what the difference is between the two. So, chess tactics are something that every beginner should really study and learn and try and improve their chess tactics abilities. So tactics are more like short-term plans or immediate actions that give you an advantage in chess. So an example might be, let's see here. Let's say you play e4 in a game and your opponent plays e6, and then you play d4, they play d5, and now perhaps they go here. If it's your turn, you have to move first, of course. So let's say, I don't know, you bring the knight out to protect this pawn, and then they go here. Well, the difference between tactics and strategy is that you could move here, and this is an immediate tactic because you're just attacking a piece here. And so your opponent is forced to react immediately. They have to move this bishop or they'll be captured. The bishop will be captured and you'll just be ahead in material. So strategy, on the other hand, are longer term plans. So the difference basically is tactics are short term opportunities that could give you an advantage, and strategy are long term plans that may take a while to put into action on the chessboard. So this is a short-term tactic. You're attacking here. Now, a long-term strategy might be that by pushing this pawn forward here, you've gained space in the center. And that could be a long-term strategic advantage for the rest of the game, or at least for quite a long time. So your opponent, if it's their move, they could move here, and then this would be a tactic. It is a short-term maneuver that tries to give you some type of immediate advantage. So now they have pinned this knight to the king. And I've mentioned pins before, and I'll go over those in a future video. But a pin is a tactic that you can use, a chess tactic, where you kind of immobilize a piece, either temporarily, or it could be permanently. But here, you've permanently immobilize this knight by, I don't know if I should say permanently. This knight is immobilized because it cannot move until you break this pin between the knight and the king here. So the knight cannot move at all because it would be illegal to put your king in check. Now, as long as nothing's in between these two pieces, then that knight is permanently immobilized. But as soon as you play something like this, the pin is broken. And now this knight could move if it chose to do so, and it wouldn't be illegal. But if we go back, you could also try and break the pin by forcing this bishop to make a decision here, either to capture, and then you could recapture, or it could retreat, either back this way, or it could back up and keep the pin here But now the pin can be broken by attacking again with this pawn, and the bishop would have to retreat. So strategy is long-term planning, long-term thinking and ideas in chess, and tactics are usually short, quick actions that could lead to immediate advantage in chess. So there are many different types of strategy, chess strategy and chess tactics. We just saw the pin in action. If we go back to this game and show the beginning moves, another possible tactic is the fork. So let's say after this, the knight moves here to protect this pawn, and the bishop moves here. And let's say the middle was ignored here, and maybe another knight was developed. Well, now, if black tried to enact a strategy of developing his pieces, castling on the king side here, so now he's moved his pieces off the back rank and he's getting ready to castle, none of that long-term strategy will matter now, or not matter as much, because there's an immediate tactic in this position where this move can be played. And now we have a fork where one piece is attacking more than one piece. So here this pawn is attacking the bishop and the knight. So now black has to make a decision. Does he ignore this and just go ahead and castle? Does he retreat the bishop back and then let the pawn capture here and then maybe recapture with the bishop? So there are many different things to think about in chess. Just a simple tactic like this gives you so many options. So let's say the bishop retreats, because a long-term strategy is to keep your bishop pair and try and get rid of your opponent's bishop pair, because that could give you a strategic advantage over the long term in the game. So now white can go ahead and capture this more valuable knight with a less valuable pawn. And so now you have another choice. You could ignore this pawn, but then it would capture your bishop. It could go after this pawn, but more likely it would just capture this more valuable bishop. So you need to knock this pawn out. And now your decision is, should you capture with your pawn or with your bishop here? Well, both of these moves lead to long-term strategy and strategic ideas. So if you capture with your bishop, well, now you've avoided a strategic problem that could have come about if you captured with the pawn. So capturing with the bishop, you put your bishop on an interesting diagonal here where it can aim down through the center of the board, put a little more pressure on this pawn, maybe help guard the king side a little bit. But if we go back and you would have captured with the pawn here, so the pawn captures towards the center, and a long-term strategy might be that, well, now this pawn can help push this pawn forward and try and control the center. It also opens up this file here. Maybe you could put a rook here and aim it down the king side, especially if your opponent castles there. So that could be a long-term strategy. But then white might be thinking, well, now my opponent has broken up his king side pawns here, and a long-term strategy for white might be to attack this weak isolated pawn here. And if the king castles over here, maybe there would be an opening in here towards the king side. Or white could simply move here and prevent black from castling immediately. these are just some of the ideas when it comes to long-term strategic thinking in chess. So the difference now with tactics are that because they are so immediate and can instantly change the course of the game, tactics are usually more important, I guess I'll say, because you can come up with all the long-term chess strategy you want, but if your opponent uses a short-term tactic that leads to checkmate, well, then they just win the game and none of your long-term strategy even matters anymore. So that's just something to remember when it comes to chess tactics and strategy in chess. So the tactics are more immediate, more powerful, short-term attacks that try and give you an advantage or steer the game in the direction you want it to go in. Where strategy is more long-term thinking. Another example of long-term strategy might be pawn islands. And if you're not familiar with that, I'll probably cover that in future videos. Let's say, let me set up a position here. All right. Okay, let's say that there's nothing but king and pawns on the chessboard, maybe a rook as well. But white has a pawn here, black has a pawn here, and then white maybe has a pawn here, here, I don't know, here, here, and then here. And let's see, we'll just move this pawn up here. Something like this, just a random position of pawns. And now white has a rook here trying to control this open file, and maybe the king has moved up here. Well, now black, let's say black has something like this, this, here, and here. Now, if we take a look at this, and we'll put the rook on here as well. Let's say the rook is out here, and the king is still in the middle. Well, if we look at the evaluation bar here, the game is plus 5.55 in white's favor. And, that's with white to move because he's going to grab this pawn. If we make it black to move, it does make the game more even, but white is now still plus 1.9 ahead here. So, what is the difference in the position that you can see? Well, the only immediate tactic there is for this rook being able to capture this pawn. So if we load this game up, the best move is to just move here or here. It looks like they want f7. So this allows the king to move here and protect this pawn, and then also maybe move over here and help protect these pawns. But the biggest difference in this game are the pawn islands. So we see that white has a pair of pawns here that are connected, and this h pawn is protecting the g pawn. And then there is a segment of pawns all connected here. So the c pawn protects the d and the b pawn, and then they protect the a and the e pawn. So these pawns are side by side. They're protecting each other pretty good. And these, this h pawn is protecting this. But now if we look over here, there are 1, 2, 3, 4 pawn islands. So black's pawns are all broken apart, and scattered, and it just causes more weaknesses. So when it comes to strategy, a long-term strategy you may attempt is to break apart your opponent's pawns so they're isolated like this pawn, or doubled up like these pawns here, and the pawns over on the H-file, or give your opponent backward pawns like this right here. And it looks like the best move is rook to f5 according to the computer, just jumping up here and keeping this backward pawn basically stuck here. And then it looks like a5 is what the computer wants for black, which just kind of keeps the space even here. It prevents this pawn from being able to push forward and attack. And now it looks like king to f3 is the best move, and then rook to g8. So we see here that white is going to try and take advantage of these pawn islands, these just scattered pawns that are pretty weak. And black is going to have to spend his whole time playing defense. So his long-term strategy will revolve around just trying to defend all these messed up pawns here. And so now it looks like h4 is what the computer wants. So let's see, if we do that, that keeps the rooks on the board. It prevents a rook from moving here and trying to trade off the rooks and fix these doubled pawns. But before I go too deep into pawn strategy, which I'll cover in a future video, just remember that tactics are short-term attacks or little maneuvers that you can try to do to get some type of quick advantage. And with that quick advantage, it could lead to a long-term strategic benefit. So if you're able to fork two pieces and then just capture one of those pieces and you're ahead in material, well, then your short-term tactic gives you a long-term advantage, a strategic advantage of just having more pieces than your opponent. And then that would lead to the strategy of trying to trade off more pieces, because when you're ahead in material, if you can trade off the rest of the pieces until you just have that one extra piece, well, you can use that extra piece to pick off your opponent's pawns and help march one of your pawns to promotion. So that could be a long-term strategy. But remember that no matter what your long-term strategy is, they can be defeated by a short-term tactic if you're not careful, such as an attack that leads to a quick checkmate. And then all of your long-term strategy kind of goes out the window and you end up losing due to a checkmate. All right, well, I'll end that video there. I just wanted to quickly tell you the difference between chess tactics and strategy, because in future videos I'd like to go over different chess tactics and different chess strategies to help you learn more about chess and improve your game. And when you're starting out, especially tactics are very important to learn and to know, because you can have, like I said, all the strategy prepared in the world and the greatest plans, but then if you overlook one tactic, especially if it's a checkmate tactic, then, well, you lose the game and your strategy didn't matter as much then when you're losing. All right, well, if you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe if you haven't already. Feel free to leave comments or suggestions. Also, any requests for videos that you would like to see in the future. But In this series, I'll be covering quite a few things. And if you're in a hurry and you can't wait for my next videos to come out, you can also take a look at my chess channel, the Nick Butts Chess channel, in the videos and playlist section. And there should be about 370 some videos located there, and you can go back and look at other things and different chess tactics and strategy videos that I have there. All right, thank you everybody for watching, and have a super chess day.